But it's happening because we have created an environment that people want to be in. An environment where we stand for individual freedom, where we stand for economic freedom, and where we stand for religious freedom. And those are all very important. So I'm excited about what we've accomplished, but I'm also excited about what more we have in order to do. Particularly when I just was in Bradenton, you know, we have the largest budget surplus in the history of Florida by far, not even close. And that's with no income tax and not taxing people. I mean, good grief. So ended the fiscal year with a $102 billion budget, 2022, $22 billion surplus with a $102 billion budget. That's pretty incredible, by far the most we've ever had. So we're looking at ways to be able to move Florida forward with that. And part of what we're going to do is we're going to do the biggest tax cuts and tax relief that Florida has ever seen. We already did it. We already did it in this year where we did $1.2 billion in tax relief. And we did things like have a year of no tax for, because we want it to be family friendly, no tax on things for babies like diapers and wipes or all these other things. And you know, we have a 5, a 4, and a 2-year-old at home. And so my wife said, why didn't you do that your first year in office? We had 2 kids in diapers, and then we brought a 3rd the next year, and I said, you know, I got to give credit to the legislature. That was their idea. But what we're going to do next year is we're going to make that permanent so that baby items, cribs, strollers, no tax on that. We want families to be strong. We want them to succeed. We're going to do no tax on school books, kids' books. We're going to do no tax on athletic equipment for kids. We're going to do no tax on toys for 12 and under. We want families to do well, and you see the inflation that we're having to deal with because of all the stuff they're doing in Washington. You know, they've printed trillions of dollars. They're trying to kneecap energy production. Of course you're going to get inflation when you do those policies. And so your inflation has not gone down. It went up last month. Energy, unfortunately, is going to go up again between now and the end of the year. So this is pinching people, not just in Florida, but all across the country with everything being so much more expensive. So if we're making these things permanent for people, we're also going to do no tax on pet food, because you got to take care of your pets. And it's all part, and we're also doing, I had already announced a couple weeks ago, you know, we're going to slash, for all of our commuters, we're going to slash tolls by 50% all across the state of Florida. You got to be a commuter, though. The visitors, the tourists, they're still going to pay. So you got to commute a number of times to be able to do it. But I think that's going to be really, really meaningful. And we have some people in some parts of the state that are paying hundreds of dollars a month just in tolls. So that cuts in half. They're going to get a tax cut of $1,000, $1,500. It's going to make a huge difference. So a lot of what we've done is we want to create a good environment where people can raise their family in the state of Florida. And we have done that. And you look at the number of people that moved here just because of schools, just because of the economy being open. And oh, by the way, a lot of people moved here because they know as long as I'm governor, Florida's a law and order state. We are going to not let them defund law enforcement, reallocate money from law enforcement. We're going to support law enforcement in this state because it's important. We signed legislation this year, and we're now issuing these, we'll do it very shortly, where anybody who, because they've been treating the police horribly all across the country, and we're different than that, so we said, you know what, if you choose that as a vocation, as a young person in Florida, or if you transfer from out of state, you're going to get a $5,000 signing bonus because we appreciate your service. We've also increased penalties for rioting and looting and mob violence. Not going to let our cities turn into Minneapolis, not on my watch. We'll make sure that doesn't happen. We also did 2 years in a row, we did $1,000 bonuses for every sworn law enforcement, every firefighter, and every EMT in the state of Florida. You know, we had I was on the west coast of Florida. We were in Palm Harbor for the 9/11 remembrance ceremony that they do a great one every year. And it's a time to reflect on, of course, the people that we tragically lost, almost 3,000 people. But it was also a time to give thanks for those first responders who went into those burning towers. And I can tell you, if they had not been so selfless that day, if the people on Flight 93 had not taken the terrorists out that day, there would have been thousands more that would have died that day. And so you saw heroism, you saw people put themselves, put the others above themselves, and that's what the people that wear the uniform do all the time in our state. And so I think that we've created an environment where people realize that if you're doing that, if you're a firefighter or police officer, you're appreciated in this state. You're supported in this state. And you see what's going on. You have prosecutors across the country who are not picking and choosing which laws that they're going to enforce. How has that worked out with San Francisco? How has that worked out with Los Angeles or New York City? It's a disaster, and crime is going through the roof because you're basically given license for people to violate the law with impunity. I can tell you, we are not letting that happen in the state of Florida.